Okay, so today we're jumping into a story that is, well, it's pretty wild. It starts with this ancient mystery deep in the Amazon rainforest, and believe it or not, it ends with a full-on, high-tech battle for the future of our own minds. Yeah, we're talking about a sacred plant, an incredible prophecy, and a heist that's happening right now, one that could literally change what it even means to be human. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to start with the science, this ancient hack that just shouldn't be possible. Then we'll get into this prophecy about the eagle and the condor. After that, we'll look at the high-tech heist happening as we speak and the war for consciousness that's brewing. And, super important, we'll cover a serious warning before we wrap up with the shaman's way, the authentic path. So let's start with a real head-scratcher, a genuine scientific puzzle. And I'm not talking about some myth or legend here. This is a real-world question that has had modern scientists totally stumped for decades. It basically makes us question everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. Yeah, so this is chapter 1, the ancient hack. And look, this isn't just about some plant they found. This is about a super sophisticated piece of ancient pharmacology. Seriously. The question is, how in the world did indigenous peoples in the Amazon figure out a chemical combination so complex that really it should have been impossible without modern labs? Okay, so the secret is this brew. You've probably heard of it, ayahuasca. It's made by boiling two very specific plants together for hours and hours. You've got this chacruna leaf. That one has a really powerful psychedelic compound in it called DMT. And then you have the ayahuasca vine itself, which contains this special chemical that's basically a key. The real genius, the whole magic of it, is how these two work together. All right, let me break down this hack for you. It's like a lock and key system. Your body has this built-in security guard, right? An enzyme in your stomach called MAOA. If you just ate that chacruna leaf with the DMT, this enzyme would just zap it, instantly destroy it, game over, nothing happens. But, and this is the incredible part, somehow these ancient tribes figured out that if you boil it with the ayahuasca vine, you introduce the key. The vine has something called an MAOI. This key goes in, finds that one specific guardian enzyme, and basically tells it to take a break. It locks it down temporarily. And with that security guard offline, the DMT is free to do its thing and unlock a really profound experience. It's just an amazing piece of biochemistry. I mean, just stop and think about the odds for a second. There are tens of thousands of different plants in the Amazon, and they found the only two that work in this exact precise combination. It's like finding a needle in a continent-sized haystack. So when scientists ask the indigenous elders, how did you possibly know to do this? The answer they get is always the same, and it's pretty profound. They just say, the plants taught us. And that idea right there, that you can learn from nature, not just about it, that's going to be the key to understanding this whole story. So this crazy biochemical mystery, it's not just a cool science fact. It's actually a doorway into something much, much bigger. We're talking about an ancient prophecy that's supposedly about the fate of our entire world. It's called the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. So the prophecy basically says there are two great paths for humanity, and they're symbolized by these two amazing birds. You've got the eagle, which represents the path of the mind. That's pretty much our world, right? Logic, technology, industry, all that stuff. Then you've got the condor. The condor represents the path of the heart. This is the indigenous world, all about intuition, spirituality, and a deep connection to nature and community. Now, here's where it gets kind of spooky. The prophecy said that for 500 years, the eagle would become so powerful it would almost wipe the condor out completely. And just look at the timeline. It's chilling. We're talking from the late 1490s, the start of colonization, all the way through the Industrial Revolution and right up to the 1990s. That's a 500-year cycle where the eagle's way of thinking just dominated the globe, often by crushing and silencing indigenous cultures. I mean, that's a hauntingly accurate description of the last 500 years of history, right? But, and this is a big but, there's this amazing message of hope at the center of the prophecy. It says that after those 500 years of total imbalance, a whole new era would begin. And guess what? That's our era. Right now, this is supposedly the time when the eagle and the condor are meant to finally fly together in the same sky. The idea is to bring the mind and the heart back together, to integrate technology with nature, to heal ourselves and the planet. So that sounds great, right? But what if the eagle isn't actually learning to fly with the condor? What if it's just trying to steal its wings? This is where the story takes a dark turn. We're getting into the modern-day heist, what some people are now calling the high-tech colonization of consciousness. All right, threat number 1, biopiracy.
This is basically old school theft with a modern legal twist. And the perfect example is this story about a US scientist named Lauren Miller. Back in the 80s, he got his hands on samples of the sacred ayahuasca vine from tribes in Ecuador. He takes them back to the States, grows his own version, and then, get this, he files a patent on it, claiming it as his own invention. It's just wow. Now, after huge international outcry from indigenous groups, the patent was eventually pulled, but it showed just how vulnerable this sacred knowledge really is. And if you look at his patent application, it's just a masterclass in erasing history. He claimed he just found the plant in a domestic garden. A garden. With that one phrase, he tried to wipe out thousands of years of indigenous knowledge, of cultivation, of deep spiritual meaning. It's a logic that says millennia of collective wisdom means nothing, but a guy in a lab coat growing it for a few weeks gets to own it. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so that was the 80s. Today, the Heist has gone totally high-tech. It's digital, it's autonomous. It starts with satellites using AI to scan the rainforest, mapping out all the hotspots of biodiversity. Then they send in these eDNA sampling drones. They literally fly through the forest canopy, sucking up genetic material right out of the air and off the leaves. All that data gets fed into another AI that hunts for valuable chemical compounds. And the final step? A corporation can just synthesize those compounds in a lab and patent them as a new discovery, without ever talking to or compensating the people who've protected this knowledge for generations. And this brings us to threat number 3, and it's a really tragic irony. You've probably heard about ayahuasca tourism, right? Well, this global boom has created a massive, massive demand. And what happens with demand? The price for the secret vine has just gone through the roof. So now, the very indigenous communities who've been the guardians of this medicine for millennia, they can't even afford it themselves anymore. And as if that's not bad enough, this is also turning into a huge ecological disaster. See, the ayahuasca vine, it's not like a weed. It takes 5, sometimes 7 years to mature properly. But with all this tourism pressure, people are harvesting it way, way faster than it can regrow. It's just not sustainable. And in some parts of the Amazon, it's literally disappearing, which threatens the survival of the plant itself and the entire culture built around it. So, all of this, the biopiracy, the AI drones, the cultural crisis, it all leads us to the final boss, the ultimate nightmare. This is what happens when an ancient medicine designed to open your mind runs headfirst into modern AI surveillance, which is, well, it's designed to do the exact opposite. At the end of the day, what we're talking about is a war over your right to explore your own mind. Think about it. Authoritarian systems, whether they're governments or giant corporations, they need one thing from you: conformity. They need predictable people who follow the rules. But a medicine like this, it's a direct threat to that. It encourages you to question everything, to think deeply about your life, about society. It helps you break out of those rigid thought patterns. It is like the total opposite of conformity. So what's the ego's final move? What's the checkmate? Well, it's a future that is way closer than you might think. A future where neurotech, things like portable brain sensors, are combined with AI surveillance. An AI that can literally watch your brainwaves, detect when you're having an experience that's, well, unauthorized, and flag you. It's the ultimate digital cage for your mind. A cage built not to help you, but to stop you from ever thinking outside the box they've built for you. Okay, now we need to pause for a second and get really, really serious. Because this medicine is so powerful, it demands absolute respect. I have to be super clear here. This is not a toy. This is not a recreational party drug. If you ignore the very real dangers, it can be incredibly harmful. And yes, in some cases, it can even be fatal. So let's talk about the critical dangers. There are 3 big ones you absolutely cannot ignore. First, if you mix it with common antidepressants, especially SSRIs, it can cause something called serotonin syndrome. That's a deadly overdose of serotonin in your brain. It's no joke. Second, if you or anyone in your family has a history of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, it can trigger a really severe and long-lasting psychotic episode. And third, because of that tourism boom we talked about, there's now an entire army of fake, predatory shamans out there who are completely untrained, totally unethical, and just plain dangerous. Okay, so if that's how not to do it, what's the right way? How is this actually supposed to be done? Well, let's look at the authentic path, the shaman's way. For the indigenous cultures that have stewarded this for centuries, this isn't some casual thing. It's a deeply serious medical and spiritual process, and it's always guided by a true master. A real, authentic ceremony is a super structured event. It's led by a shaman, who is basically a combination of a doctor and a spiritual protector. And these aren't people who just took a weekend course. They've trained for decades. They don't just pour you a cup, they guide the entire journey, which can last for hours, by singing these sacred songs called ikaros. These songs are believed to literally direct the healing energy. They also manage something called the purge, which is often a physical vomiting that's seen as a really important cleansing of negative energy and trauma. Their whole job, their entire purpose, is to hold a safe, protected, sacred space where deep healing can actually happen.
So, in the end, the whole story of this sacred vine brings us right back to that prophecy. It leaves us with a choice, a really big choice about our future. We are standing at that crossroads. Are we going to let the path of the eagle, the path of extraction, of control, of surveillance, colonize the very last frontier, our own consciousness? Or are we finally going to learn how to fly with the condor? Are we going to choose the path of connection, respect, and healing, and finally learn to fly together?